Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. As the sun began to set over the bustling city, Jack sat at his desk, staring into space as he tried to make sense of the chaos that had just unfolded around him. He had always been a hardworking and ambitious employee, but now he found himself in uncharted territory, facing a seemingly impossible situation that would test his limits both physically and mentally. Just a few days earlier, Jack had been promoted to the position of manager at his company, a prestigious position that he had been working towards for years. He had always been a diligent worker, and his new role was a testament to his hard work and dedication. However, as he settled into his new position, he quickly realized that things were not as they seemed. His new boss, a woman named Alexis, was unlike any other manager he had ever worked with. She was cold, ruthless, and seemingly bent on destroying Jack's career before it had even begun. She was always watching him, critiquing his every move, and finding fault with even the smallest details. It seemed that no matter what Jack did, it was never enough to satisfy her. As the days passed, Jack found himself growing increasingly frustrated with Alexis' behavior. He couldn't understand why she was so harsh with him, especially since he had always been a top performer in his previous role. He tried to talk to her about his concerns, but she would brush him off and tell him that he needed to work harder if he wanted to succeed. One day, things took a decidedly strange turn. Jack arrived at work to find Alexis waiting for him in his office, a smug look on her face. She walked over to him and handed him a piece of paper, instructing him to sign it without reading it. Jack was hesitant, but Alexis' tone left him no choice. He signed the paper without question. As he left the office, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He tried to read the paper that he had signed, but it was written in a language that he didn't recognize. He tried to show it to his colleagues, but they were equally baffled. It seemed that he was the only one who had been targeted by this strange document. As the weeks passed, Jack began to notice strange changes in his body. He was growing weaker by the day, and he found it increasingly difficult to focus on his work. He tried to talk to his colleagues about what was happening to him, but they all seemed to be in on it. They would look at him with a mixture of pity and contempt, as if they knew something that he didn't. One day, Jack finally snapped. He couldn't take the constant pressure and manipulation any longer. He confronted Alexis, demanding to know what was going on. To his surprise, she finally revealed the truth. She had been using a powerful mind control device to manipulate Jack and force him to sign the document. She had also been secretly drugging him to make him more susceptible to her control. Jack was shocked and angry. He had never imagined that his boss could be so cruel and manipulative. He tried to fight back, but it was too late. The mind control device had taken hold of him, and he was powerless to resist. As the days passed, Jack's body began to change in ways that he could never have imagined. His muscles grew weaker, and his once sharp mind began to dull. He found himself becoming more feminine, with soft curves and delicate features. He was powerless to resist the changes, and he soon found himself completely under Alexis' control. She had transformed him into a docile and obedient servant, one who would do anything she commanded. Days turned into weeks, and Jack found himself losing touch with reality. He had become a shell of his former self, a broken and submissive creature who existed only to please his cruel master. He had no control over his own body, and he found himself yearning for the slightest touch or caress from Alexis. As time passed, Jack's transformation continued. His once masculine features softened and became more feminine, until he was unrecognizable to those who had known him before. He had become a beautiful, delicate creature, completely under the control of his ruthless master. Despite his new appearance, Jack's life remained a living hell. Alexis continued to manipulate and control him, using him for her own twisted pleasure. He was nothing more than a toy to her, a plaything to be used and discarded at her whim. As the months passed, Jack began to lose hope. He had become a forgotten creature, a mere shadow of his former self. He had no control over his own life, and he found himself yearning for the slightest bit of kindness or compassion. But hope is a fragile thing, and it can be easily snuffed out. Jack's life continued to spiral downward, and he found himself trapped in a never-ending cycle of pain and submission. He had become a victim, a pawn in a twisted game of power and control. As time passed, Jack found himself growing more desperate. He had no idea how to break free from Alexis' control, and he was quickly running out of options. He had become a broken and submissive creature, one who existed only to serve his cruel master.